The Boy Horror Story Part 2. Mr. and Mrs. Williams shifted to a new house with their son, Jude. 2 months ago, Jude was alone in the house when a robbery took place. The robbers hit Jude on the head until he became unconscious. Since then, Jude got scared and had stopped talking to everyone. Mr. and Mrs. Williams decided to leave that house as Jude would never be able to forget what happened to him in that house. This new house was near the Hillshire property. After shifting to this place, Jude used to play in his garden every day. One day, while playing in the garden, he found a hand stuck out from the grass. When he dug further around that area, he found the same Brahms doll that Greta used to take care of. Jude decided that he'll keep the doll with himself. He started taking care of Brahms the same way. He used to kiss him goodnight every night before sleeping. One day, a couple of guests came over to Mr. and Mrs. Williams' house. Seeing them, something got into Jude. He started screaming at them and demanded to get rid of the guests. He said that Brahms didn't approve of them in his house. It was the first time in 3 months that Jude had spoken a word. It did make Mr. and Mrs. Williams happy, but they were worried at the same time because they weren't expecting him to say something like this. They locked him in his room so that he cannot come out in front of the guests and create a scene. When the guests left in the evening, they opened the room. They reprimanded Jude and told him that what he did today was not justified. Jude told them that Brahms is now a good friend of his, and he does not want anyone else to visit the house. A few days had passed since the incident took place. A guy called Phillips used to come there every week to provide the weekly supplies. When he came the next time, Mr. and Mrs. Williams inquired about this new place. Phillips told them about the history of the Hillshire family. He told them that they had a son named Brahms whose spirit resided within the walls of the Hillshire house. The Hillshire couple had assumed a doll to be their son and also treated it like him. But when this truth came out, the couple committed suicide. Mr. and Mrs. Williams were shocked to hear this, as even their son treated his doll as if it was a real person, and he had also named it Brahms. They showed that doll to Phillips. But as soon as Phillips saw Brahms, the lights of the house started flickering, the table started to shake, and Jude came out to take Brahms with him. Jude said, "You both had promised that no outsider will be coming to our house. Now Brahms is furious and he wants to take revenge." That's when Brahms' mouth opened and a whole lot of weird insects started coming out of his mouth. The insects crawled over Philip's body and started to bite him. Philip's entire skin was gone in seconds. Mr. and Mrs. Williams were left stunned at the sight. They looked at Jude, who was laughing watching Philip's dead body. He told them that Brahms was saying if next time some outsider comes to the house, they'll suffer the same fate as Phillips, and will also keep him as slaves for life. Mr. and Mrs. Williams were petrified hearing this. It seemed as if Jude was under the possession of Brahms' spirit through that doll. Mrs. Williams took the Brahms doll at once and ripped it into pieces by slamming it on the floor. As soon as the doll broke, Jude's eyes turned white and he fell unconscious. Mr. and Mrs. Williams decided that they'll no longer stay at this place. They got in the car and left the house that very moment. They admitted Jude into a hospital. It was his good fortune that Jude came back to normalcy. Mr. and Mrs. Williams bought a new house and started their life afresh. But one day when Miss Williams opened Jude's cupboard, she found a doll sitting there, and there, staring at her, it was the Brahms doll. If you liked the story, subscribe to our channel Bloody Monday now. We really need your support to keep making fantastic horror videos. please spread the word.